My name is Jayanti, shortened from Jayanti Lal. I'm also known as Jay. It is very difficult to identify what started me on this journey of anti-racism. I have to go back to my school days, school days in Kenya, in Nairobi in Kenya, when I was very active in scouting movement and outward bound activities. And we had 3 schools: European school, African school, and Indian schools. Colonial system had segregation based on that attitude, rather than treating people as people. They never ever defined needs. They always assumed the needs of Europeans were greater than the needs of Indians, which were greater than the needs of Africans. It is ridiculous. When I came to Britain in 1968, this further reinforced, because I needed a visa to come to Britain on a British passport. How ridiculous can you get? And then in 1971, when I finished my degree, I couldn't get visas to go to any other country, including Kenya, because there was no automatic re-entry on the British passport. So I did a protest outside Petit France, demanding a new passport be issued. Originally, they declined, but they did so within 24 hours. This obviously leads you to realize how racist the laws and the rules and the traditions within British society are. And since then, I got involved with anti-racist activities. We used to call them race relations at the time. Got involved in anti-racist activities, got involved with Southampton Council for Racial Equality, on the race committee of Southampton City Council, etc. And that's where the journey started. It continues. People should be treated as people. The right thing to do is be an anti-racist. An anti-racist is acting to eliminate racism. I wanted to pass that question, but I will answer it. I think any society, any community which is inward-looking, where its members look at how other members of the same community view them in terms of their heritage, their far-flung villages they come from, Gams or Attaks, is a problematic situation. It creates a ghettoization situation. Younger people are interested in what is happening now, what is happening in their neighborhood, how can they improve their neighborhood, how can they help the homeless, how can they help and do seva and service in their own community. The Oshwal community is in the danger of alienating those young people by not allowing them to organize and not even responding to requests to mark Black Lives Matters or United Nations Anti-Racism Day. And this sycophantic attitude of the community, so-called community leaders, is quite dangerous. Yes, in conclusion, I would have to say that the organization itself is institutionally racist. Religion per se is not the source of division or racism. It is its practice. How it is practiced, how is it interpreted by the structures which are built around the so-called religious philosophies. For example, in South Africa, the Christian religion actually originally endorsed what the apartheid regime was doing. You look at religions in Britain, there are statues of slave traders in churches up and down the country, especially in south of England. Now, those statues, the religion itself says you will treat all human beings equally, yet they venerated the people who were enslaved. In Jain community, there's a tradition of seva. Unfortunately, most of the members end up doing that type of service in countries in India or in East Africa, yet you've got starving people and homeless people on their own doorstep in their own neighborhood. And I suspect they do it because how it looks to the other members of that religious or the community. Fundamentally, I originally thought it's irrelevant. I thought about it and I came to the conclusion that one must accept it, but without compromise. So in the original letter, they said we are going to citation will be services to the community. So I said, no. That's what does that mean? Services to the community could be anything. So I said, let's be more specific. Now in the letter, they'd asked and to suggest if it should be different because they got that from the nomination. So I suggested for services to promoting anti-racism. I believe this is the first time anybody in those citations has used the word anti-racism. It is always important that if you are about making sure that the society at large sees you as belonging in the society and not something different, not a foreigner, not an alien, but a part of the society, you accept any honors that the society bestows upon you. And that's what I did. And I think it has created a lot of dialogue. It has even got my long lost friends and cousins, without knowing what the citation was, really chuffed by the fact that I've got an MBA. Of course, I have criticized them in the past and I will continue to criticize them. It is not the award, it is the work that is more important. It is not my effort, it is many people's effort. But it allows me to be the change I think I want in the society, i.e. to promote anti-racism. I'd like to change the word equality to equity. We are about, and diversity, well, everybody is different. So diversity is sort of a self-explanatory term. Everybody is different, treat everybody differently, and recognize what their needs are and treat them as per their needs. Equality is a difficult concept because if you got a short person and a tall person both looking over the fence, you do not drill a hole in the fence to let the short person look over the fence. You actually provide them with a ladder in order to look over the fence. So there's an equal treatment. It's the outcome that should be equal, not how you treat the people. And the outcome is equal by taking different actions to accommodate different people. So I always get upset about the term which has come into fashion recently, which is subconscious bias. There are a lot of people making a lot of money out of doing training in subconscious bias. Now, subconscious bias to me is an excuse to continue behaving badly. Oh, I didn't mean that. I only did it because I've got a subconscious bias. I didn't realize I had a subconscious bias. You did something that was wrong. Stop it. Young Oshwals can get involved in anti-racism in many, many different ways. But to begin with, they must examine their own values and what has influenced them in their homes, in their community, in the people they mix around. If somebody stereotypes somebody else, and this happens in Kenya quite a lot, where members of the Oshwal community speak disparagingly about Africans. people in this country speak disparagingly about black people. And they almost hero worship white people. Ask yourself a question: how do these white people talk about you? So at the end of the day, people have to be people, and you have to be the change you want to be. So, for example, if your parents or your uncle or your grandparents, somebody turns around and says something like, you know what these Brahmins are like, or something like, you know what these Africans are like, all you have to say is not even accuse them of racism. All you have to say is ask them a simple question: how many do you know? People stereotype on the basis of a knowledge of one or two people when there are millions of people in that category. The second thing they could do is try and educate and learn themselves as to the difference between prejudice and racism. For example, they would probably know from historical events, but murder of Stephen Lawrence was not racism. It was prejudice. What was racism was how police did not investigate it, or how they investigated it with a cursory look at the case. So racism is built into the society. Individuals aren't racist. Individuals are not born racist. They learn to be racist. They learn to be prejudiced. They can unlearn that. And the way to unlearn that is for the young people to cleverly challenge the stereotypical concept by actually asking for better and more information on the subject. How many do you know?